Well, good morning, Business 20 students. This is Mr. Doucette. This is week 6 of our 8-week business mathematics course here at at Norco College. Sorry, almost said Cerritos College. I'm looking at another paper over here. Anyway, welcome. Glad to have you guys. Hopefully you guys are tracking with us okay. And I know we had a pretty challenging exam as we had as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, chapters 10 and 11 were kind of challenging for most students, but it looked like a lot of you got through it, probably more than normal in this course, so good job on that. And of course, last week you looked at chapters 12 and 14. You looked at annuities, and then you also looked at mortgages, and both of those are completely different. Well, this week we shift major gears and we begin to look at inventory and depreciation. So I'm going to share my screen, and we are in module number 3. We have 2 more weeks here, or 1 more week here. So we're finishing that up here on the 26th. Actually, this is our last week for module 3. So last week, again, you looked at annuities and mortgages. As you can see on your screen behind you, you did a check-in assignment on that. You did a quiz on that. And then you started your case study number 3, which is really talking about inflation. So you're basically looking at how you're going to be needing some money in the future, and you have some money now, so you need to figure out the compound interest on what you have now plus the rate of inflation. So it's not a difficult problem. Don't overthink it. Just think real clearly on it. I mean, it's basically, I have money, I need to have this much money in the future, so I need to do a sinking fund, but then how much more is it going to be because of inflation? And that's what you need to figure out. So figure out the inflation and then figure out the sinking fund and then put the two together. So that's the case study. And then as we move into this week, once again, you still have a read me first, and you also have a help Sienna. So it explains how this week's problems and this week's scenarios tie into our course. So you're going to be looking at depreciation and inventory. And I don't have you cover all of it, so let me go over that with you real quickly here. There is, let's see, and then I also have the video that you're watching. So if you come down here, there's a study page on chapter 16 as always, and a study page on chapter 17 as always. I have a new formula sheet for you as well. And I do have a Zoom link here to the session that I did before. So you might want to, actually the session I did before, let me see. I'm going to just turn that off because that's going to be misleading. Anyway, so there's no Zoom session this week, but anyway, and then you come down here to the check-in assignment, and you come down here to the quiz for chapter 16 and 17. And I'm going to go ahead and move the case study down because that's now due for this week. And I'm going to, oops, what did I do with it? Oh. I don't think I moved it. Where did I go put it? Huh. Here it is. All right. Sorry about that. So that's going to be due this week. So you have 1 more week to work on that. Go ahead and just say complete case study. And then I'm going to change the date. So it is definitely due this Sunday, the 26th, coming up. And if you're watching this video during a different session, it's still this whatever Sunday's coming up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just take a real quick look at each of these. So inventory is basically, you don't have to cover everything on inventory. So when you go to the chapter, make sure that you focus specifically on what is in the study page here. So if you notice, I have you only looking at 16.1, 16.2, 16.3, and that's it. So there's other forms of inventory that I'm not even going to be addressing. So I'm only doing those 3 sections. So make sure you work through those. And by the way, there's a video of me right here working through all of those sections. So I would highly recommend that you watch that video and that you work through each of those sections on FIFO, LIFO, and average cost. And then on chapter 17, you're going to be looking at depreciation. And again, I'm not having you look at all different forms of depreciation. I'm just going to have you be looking at the major forms. So there's basically 4 of them. So you're going to be looking at 17.1, 17.2, 17.3, and 17.4. So straight line depreciation, sum of the years depreciation, declining balance depreciation, and units of production. And that's it. So you're looking at 7 different topics altogether. And here's a video of me working through all 4 of those different methods as well. So it's pretty much laid out for you. But the difference, of course, inventory is basically a line item in your income statement. And you want to know how much money you have in inventory, and that's considered an asset. So you need to be able to figure out what is the value of my inventory, and that's what you'll be doing with the problems. And that is going to tie into our financial piece next session. the next module, excuse me. This week was dealing with, actually, I don't know what this module was all about. Anyway, it was a little bit of annuities, and it was a little bit of mortgages, and a little bit of depreciation. It was kind of a catch-all module. But the last module, we focused specifically on finances, financial statements, how to read the financial statements, how to calculate your horizontal analysis and vertical analysis on income statements. And that's what will be coming next 2 weeks. But this week is depreciation and inventory, and they kind of both tie into your income statement and your balance sheet. So it's a little bit of a precursor. So I did jump ahead because actually chapter 15 is the financial statement chapter, but we're going to do 16 and 17 first. And anyway, same with depreciation on your asset sheet, your balance sheet. You know, you have bought a new piece of equipment, so it's showing in your asset sheet as being the full value that you purchased it at, but it's going to depreciate. It's not going to be worth the same after you use it. So you have to depreciate that asset on your balance sheet. And so we're going to show you how to depreciate the asset. And there's different ways of doing it, just like there's different ways of doing inventory, because it depends on how much taxes you want to pay or not pay. The same thing with depreciation. How you depreciate could mean more taxes or less taxes. So businesses choose to do it different ways all the time, depending on what their goal is. If they're going to sell their business, they want to show more profits. So they're going to, calculate it one way. If they're going to be worried about paying too much taxes, they might calculate it a different way so they don't have to pay as many taxes. So there's different ways around it, and they're all for various purposes as to what method you would use. But I'm just going to teach you the basic four inventory methods and three inventory methods and the basic 4 depreciation methods. So, all right, everybody.